Hi! Today I'm gonna do a review of the book The Leviathan, or I think it's only called Leviathan by Darius Hinks. It's the book that was released now with the 10th edition of Warhammer 40k. So I'm gonna do a short review of the book. In the beginning of the video here I won't mention any spoilers, but further on I will mention some spoilers, but I will warn beforehand. So actually, I'm gonna start by just reading the synopsis for you, so you know what the book is about. The fortress world of Regium has a proud history. For millennia, it has endured when others have fallen to ruin and damnation, standing defiant in defense of the Imperium of Man. But now it is shaken. Parasitic plagues run rampant, and Regium's citizens are haunted by dreams of horrific monsters feasting upon their flesh and marrow. Lieutenant Casterman of the Ultramarines recognizes these signs of an impending Tyranid invasion all too well. Rallying his warriors, the battle-hardened veteran launches a strike force to slaughter the Xenos in the outer system before it can reach Regium. But as the new tendril of the Hive Fleet Leviathan proves unpredictable and deadly, Casterman and the First Company must harness all their skill, might and zeal, or face utter annihilation. So that's the synopsis of the video. From the start it sounds like a really good book, at least to me. So I was very intrigued by this and I was really looking forward to it. I didn't read the book, I listened to the audiobook. It was read by Theo Solomon and I think he did a really good job. He has a special voice that I'm not that used to, but after a few chapters you get into it, and I think he did a really good job. So the book is on sale at the Black Library or Audible. It's $11.99 US for the book and $33.99 US for the audiobook, or you can purchase the book with one credit in the Audible store. And I think you get it a lot cheaper using the credit system in the Audible store, but then you also need a subscription for the Audible store. However, moving on, I'm just gonna say that for me the book was one of the better Warhammer 40k books. You really got into the setting and the characters, not all of them, but many of the characters, many of the arcs, the story arcs you followed was very well written, I think, at least for a Warhammer 40k book. So for me, I would say that the book is definitely a must-read if you're a Warhammer 40k fan. If you're new to Warhammer 40k, yeah, I think it's still one of the better books, but to get in the feel or to get the setting more, I think you should start with some of the older books just to get a feel for the Warhammer universe or how the books are actually written. I think we're gonna move into the spoiler section of this video, so if you haven't read the book or wanting to listen to the book, you could just stop the video here, but you can also return when you have read it. I think I'm not gonna go through all of the key moments in the book, it would be too long a video, but I think I'm gonna talk about my favorite parts of the book. I really like the apothecary biologist character, Voltis, because I think I really like the idea of a battlefield scientist, that the apothecary biologist, that's a hard word, the apothecary biologist is. And his story arc are also one of the most interesting, I think one of the most central story arcs in the book, because he is introduced in the first 2 chapters, I think, and you follow his story all to the end. Some of the characters are only in the beginning, and some of them are in the middle, and some of them are only in the end. The idea of a battlefield scientist is a really interesting one to me, especially in the Warhammer 40k universe. So a big thumbs up for that story arc. Next thing I'm gonna talk about is the character called the Heartbringer. It's a Tyranid character. It's a new bioform for the Tyranids, the Norn emissary. It's kind of hard to actually try to picture. In my head, I view this as a very large lictor or a very large Tyranid warrior, simply. The only description you get in the book is that it's the biggest Tyranid the Voltis, I think, has ever seen. The character is still small enough to fit in a ship and small enough to fit in tunnels. And you don't know how large the ship or how large the tunnels are, actually, so it could be it could be a pretty big character. But the Tyranids also have characters or bioforms that are truly massive. like the Screamer Killer or something like that, and all the Biotitans. So it's very hard to actually get the feel for how big the Norn Emissary is. I think they could have gone with some more descriptions of the Heartbringer to get a feel for what it is and how it could look. That being said, it had a great feeling to it. Or the parts of the book that had the Heartbringer in it, it was very exciting. The author, he knew that it was the one of the central Tyranid characters or Tyranid bioforms. Maybe Games Workshop doesn't want to describe the Norn Emissary too much because they want to create a hype around this character, and I think it will be a new model for a Tyranid range. It's pretty obvious for everyone. We will just have to wait to see how the Norn Emissary will look and what type of scale it has. But all in all, it's a good character part or story arc in the book. Moving on to one of my favorite parts of the book. It was a bit predictive, I think. You could see this happening from a mile away, but it was still very exciting. Had a really good description of it in the book, and Theo Solomon, who read the book, did a really good job of delivering the excitement in this part. That's a part about the Confessor Thurgau. I think it's called Thurgau. It's very hard to pronounce for a Swedish person. So Confessor Thurgau is one of the leading characters leading the Cadia regiment or Cadia army detachment that's a part of the Regium defense system. And they are going to face one of the Tyranid hordes or swarms at a gorge. Confessor Thurgau has, throughout the book or throughout the parts that he's a part of, gotten some visions that he's supposed to lead the Cadians to victory. And he has, in his vision, he sees himself climbing a hill and defeating Tyranids and martyring himself, basically. And later on, these visions keep on developing, and he starts to get a premonition that he's going to meet the Emperor when he is martyred. So during the battle in this gorge, he talks to the other leaders, and he gets the army to actually advance into the gorge. Instead of standing outside the gorge and shooting all the Tyranids from far, they advance and attack. And when the Confessor sees the hill that he has seen in his visions, he gets... Okay, like a complete beginner, which I am actually, the camera died, so I only have 11% battery left right now with a quick charge. So I'm just gonna finish up the video by saying that I think we were at the Confessor Thurgau part. When Confessor Thurgau sees the hill that he has seen in his vision, he just shoots for the hill, and all the soldiers, elite soldiers, follow him from the Cadian army. In his head, he has this feeling that he is going to meet the Emperor on top of the hill when he gets martyred, and all of the Cadians will rally to his death and win the battle. But when he reaches the hill, he doesn't see the Emperor. He sees a different form, and it's actually the Neurotyrant, the new bioform for the Tyranids. And it's revealed that it's actually the Neurotyrant who has given Confessor Thurgau his visions all along. And when he sees that it's not the Emperor, but this large Xenos creature, he loses it completely and just makes a run for it, and obviously dies in the attempt. What happens is they realize that they've been tricked and lured into the trap, which actually makes them lose the battle, but not before they actually kill the Neurotyrant. The last thing I want to add is I also like the feeling of the ending scene where apothecary biologist Voltis is at a space station, and some of the humans actually see something out the windows from the space station. They think it's a lot of asteroids coming their way, and they say, "Oh, how beautiful it is." And the book ends with Voltis thinking, "I wonder if they really think it's beautiful when they know what it is." And what it actually is planetary debris, because the planet Regium exploded. They blew it up to hinder the Tyranid fleet to move on. So with that said, I'm just gonna say that this is actually one of my favorite books from the Warhammer 40k universe. My number one book is, I think, still The Iron Kingdom, but this is a close second actually. And now I'm listening to the Martyr's Tomb, and I think we're gonna do a review of that when I'm finished with that book. So please like and subscribe if you liked the video, and tell me down below if there's any other books that I should read or listen to that I maybe also do a review of. Thank you.